Welcome back, everybody, to another C3 Gaming episode. I am CD3 Daddy,
And I am C3DG Minecraft.
and today we are going to be talking about kelp. We have gone through several iterations of kelp farms, trying to make the best and easiest kelp farm for you to build. Unfortunately, we have run into a few different hurdles as it relates to DonutSMP. We will be doing a tutorial for a regular kelp farm for those playing in your survival worlds, but if you are here for DonutSMP, as most of our viewers are, we are going to be building this megalithic kelp farm. It is a fully automatic farm, meaning that you can AFK it and you don't have to worry about interacting with adding bone meal or any other manual input. Now, the farm that you see here is a 4-module tall, 2-module wide farm, and it produces well over 23,000 kelp per hour. This farm that we are currently looking at is 3 chunks long, and it fits perfectly inside of 2 chunks, with a couple blocks of overhang just to be safe. Now, this farm can be built as long as you want or as short as you want. What you see here does not have to be mimicked exactly. We are going to be building ours 3 chunks long so you can get an idea of how to do it, but if you wanted to build a 5 chunk long base, you can absolutely do so. All right, for today's farm, again, we are building it 3 chunks long. You can cut this in half, and we'll show you how to do that. But if you're going to follow along with us exactly, you will need a build perimeter 54 blocks long and 23 blocks wide. Again, that's 3 chunks, and then it'll fit nicely inside of 2 chunks. The 3 chunks will contain the entire farm. The extra 6 blocks will just be the overflow for our collection system. So once you have your border marked out, if you are marking your border, we are going to hop down. We are going to go to the width side of our farm, and directly in the middle on our build border, we are going to place a block of packed ice. Now, this is going to be 11 blocks from our corner. So you'll go ahead and place that there. Again, it's right in the middle. If you're not building with a build border, this just needs to be your starting point. And then we're going to build a little T for our collection system. So we're going to place 2 blocks of choice. We are going to be building out a smooth stone to make the outline easier to see. And then we're going to build 3 blocks in both directions. This will be your exit for your farm. I am going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side of my farm, placing down a block of packed ice. So Colin, if you want to go ahead and do that. Now this is going to be a mirror image starting off. This is where you can actually cut your farm in half or shorten it to even a third. Everything in the middle between the 2 sides can be condensed. You don't have to build it this long, and if you wanted to build it 5 chunks long, you could absolutely do so. All right, once you have your length determined, we're going to go to the back of the T, and we're going to build up 2 blocks. That bottom block is just a temporary block. You can leave it, and then we're going to build out 2 blocks on either side. Again, this is going to be for our collection system, which we will come back to later. And then on top of your block, we are going to build a platform all the way around. And we're going to stop 1 block shy of your border. So that is going to be from your 5th block, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we are just going to carry this all the way down to the other side. Now, once you get to the other side, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to build up 2 blocks. We're going to build out our platform, and then we are going to connect it. So connect the 2 sides just like that. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to build out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and we're going to connect it to the other side. Once you get to the other side, it's the exact same thing. We are going to complete it, and you should have a nice large rectangle to work from. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to extend this in 1 block. just like that. And Colin, if you could go ahead and do that side. We are going to grab some obsidian. Now, the obsidian is required for this. Alternatively, you could use glazed terracotta, but we are going to be using a flying machine to harvest our kelp. And if you don't use obsidian, it will break your farm. So we are going to place obsidian on our third row. And after you get to the middle, you could put obsidian here. If you're wanting to save resources, you could put smooth stone, but carry on this obsidian all the way across, just like that. And Colin is doing that on his side. Perfect. Now, in between the two farms, or in between the two sides of the farms, where your middle block is, we are going to connect these blocks. Just like that. So now you should have two outlines, one for the farm on the right and one for the farm on your left. We are going to hop down, and we are going to, it doesn't matter where you start this. I'm just going to start in the corner under my obsidian, and I am going to place down a temporary block under my obsidian, and then I'm going to fill in the entire platform to make a basin for our water. So this is going to take a minute, so we'll get back to you in a second, but all we are going to do is build in an entire floor. All right, now Colin is finishing up his side. One thing I'll mention, underneath there is a going to be a channel between the two sides. If you wanted to fill that in, that's perfectly fine. If that makes it easier for you, the goal is to make sure that you have this basin, because this is going to be our kelp bed. So you just need to have a solid floor all the way across, with the block in the middle separating it and the blocks on the outside. All right, now that we have our basin or our kelp bed built out, we are going to build some retaining walls to add another layer of water so the kelp can grow and to contain all of that water. So what I'm going to do is I am going to look on the left side of my platform, and it doesn't matter which side you're looking at, it's going to be the left on both sides. This is the only part that is asymmetrical. So on the left side, inside of your kelp bed, we're going to place a block on top of the wall, right even with our obsidian. And we're going to do this on both sides, and then we're going to build out 4 blocks, just like that. Again, we're going to do the same thing on both sides, so it'll be the left side over here as well, placing a block right in front of the obsidian and building out a total of 4 blocks. Once you have done that, we are going to start building our retaining wall, starting at this second block. Go ahead and place a block there and build it all the way out. Colin, if you want to do that side, I'll finish this side. All right, when you get to the end of your platform, you are going to extend this out 1 block. So you should be able to see that we have 1 block extending on both sides. Again, from the inside of your farm, you want those 4 blocks to be even with your first wall, and then everything else will be on the outside. So Colin has done the same thing. Once you have your outside wall, we are going to grab some walls, Minecraft walls, and we are going to connect the 2 sides together. Now this is going to be any kind of wall, whatever wall you choose. It just has to go all the way across, just like that. Once you have done that, you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. And we can start with our water. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a bucket of water, and we are going to hop down into our kelp bed, and Colin will go ahead and do that side. I'll do this side. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an infinite water source in this entire bed. Now, it does seem like it would take a while. You only need 2 buckets to do this. So you place your first bucket in the corner, skip a block, place a second bucket. And what this is going to do, it will create an infinite water source between the 2 blocks. So you'll just draw from that water source, skip a block, and you just keep doing this all the way down until you have put water along the entire wall. When you get to the final block, if the final block is an empty block, go ahead and grab some water and make sure that you have a source block of water up against the wall. When you're done, every block on the middle wall should be a source block of water. And then we are going to do the same thing along the obsidian. Your corner block should be a source block, so you'll skip a block, add water there, skip a block, add water there, skip a block, and you repeat the pattern until you get to the end. Once you have done that, and if you have done it correctly, the entire bed should turn into a solid source of water. Every block will be an infinite water source, and that is exactly what has happened. If you are having trouble with this, if you're building this in DonutSMP, we have had a user try to build this in the end. Unfortunately, there is some weird mechanics with the water in DonutSMP. If you're building this across chunk borders, it's best to have it contained within a border or within a single chunk. And if you're building it in the end, you may not be able to get the infinite water source. So I would definitely recommend building this in the overworld. Once you have done that, again with 2 water buckets, you can pull from anywhere in our kelp bed because it's an infinite water source. We are going to place water along the entire center block. So I would just place water here. And make sure you have everything filled in just like that. We are going to do the same thing on the outside wall, placing a bucket of water. And you'll notice that when you're on the outside wall, water likes to flow to the lowest block. So it is going to flow forward. So you aren't going to be able to use the infinite water source trick right away. Just to make sure that everything is set up correctly, I would recommend that you grab buckets of water. Alternatively, if you have ice or if you wanted to purchase ice, you can add ice all the way along the wall and then break it. All right, now that we have our water on the inside of our kelp bed, we are going to place more water on the platform behind the obsidian. So you're not going to do it on the obsidian itself. You're going to place the water behind the obsidian, just like this. And when you do that, you'll see that you have created an infinite water source on the second layer as well. All right, we are just about done with our water. Because the way our farm works, even though there is water here currently, we still need to place buckets of water on this second row behind the obsidian. So we're going to go ahead and do that now, making sure that you have water on each block behind your obsidian. Some troubleshooting steps. If you forget to place these 4 blocks, your water will eventually mess up. So you want to make sure that you have done the perimeter first. You also want to make sure you did the walls and the full perimeter so water doesn't spill out of your base. But that is it for the kelp bed. Go ahead and grab yourself some kelp, hop down into your farm, and we are going to place a kelp plant on each block that is even with our obsidian. So every single block, this is going to be the most time-consuming part of the whole build, just placing kelp. So I will not bore you with this. I will fast forward, and we will see you in a minute. All right, you can see that kelp does grow very quickly. Even before we were able to place all the kelp down, we have several plants that are ready to be harvested. So let's go ahead and keep on moving. The next step is going to be building out our flying machine. Now the flying machine is going to be hovering 1 block above the bottom kelp plant, the part that is planted. And we need a way to make sure that that flying machine does not break our wall or get stuck on the stone blocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to count in from the side without the 3 blocks or the 4 blocks. We're going to count in a total of 3. So 1, 2, 3. And on the 4th block, we're going to place a temporary block. You're going to place obsidian. You're going to break your temporary block. And you're going to build out 4 pieces of obsidian. So if you are looking at your kelp bed, you should have 2 blocks to the left of your obsidian and 2 blocks to the right. You are going to do the same thing on the second farm. Keep in mind that you do have these extra blocks. So just make sure you have your 4 obsidian, 1 block above your water, with 2 blocks gap on each side. And we're going to do this on both sides of our farm. So swim over to the other side, count in 3 blocks, place a temporary block, break it, 4 obsidian. And just like that, we have our backstop for our flying machine. All right, now that we have our backstop in place, it is time to actually build out our flying machine. Now, the flying machine is going to be an off-centered flying machine, meaning that the wings are not going to be perfectly even, and the side does matter. The 4 blocks is to prevent kelp from getting stuck in a stagnant pool of water. So we're going to go opposite of the 4 blocks, and we're going to place down 4 slime blocks. We're going to do the same thing on the second farm where Colin is at, placing down 4 blocks. These are going to be identical builds on this side. We do not we don't have to build on that side because the flying machine goes back and forth, but we do not have a center barrier, the 4 blocks, to account for. So that is where our starting point is. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to place down a sticky piston. And if your kelp has grown, go ahead and break it. And place down 4 pieces, or 4 slime blocks in front of your sticky piston. Once you have done that, you are going to hop behind your slime. And you're going to place down another sticky piston, making sure that, oh, I've got kelp in the way. Place down another sticky piston, making sure that the head of the sticky piston is facing towards you. Once you have done that, you are going to hop on your sticky piston. I like to crouch just to give me more room. Place an observer with the redstone output looking over on top of your sticky piston, and do the same thing on the other side. Your flying machine should look like this. Once you have done that, we are going to place our note block on the furthest observer, furthest from the obsidian wall. And then we are going to place another note block in front of the observer that is next to the obsidian backstop. Once you do this, your flying machine is going to go. So go ahead and make sure that everything is ready before you do this step. And this will also clear out your kelp that has been growing while you were building. All right, you can see now the kelp is already growing. Kelp does grow incredibly fast. And that is a ton of kelp that we have already gathered. But we don't have a fully automatic farm yet because we need to create the return system. Now, depending on your base, this is going to be a preference on how you want to build it. Pick a side. It doesn't matter which side. We are going to create a stopping lever to stop the flying machines. But before we do that, we have to make the return system. The return system is very simple. You are going to crouch and look at the note block that is not touching your backstop. place an observer there. Place a piece of redstone on the obsidian behind the observer. Place a repeater facing away from the redstone on a 2-tick. And place down 2 more pieces of redstone. And if you want to send your flying machine back, you just click one of the note blocks. That will send it back, and it will make it easier to build the return system on this side. Alright, once your flying machine is at the opposite end of your farm, once again you're going to crouch, click, and in survival, it's also easier to probably do it from the side, crouch clicking into your note block. Just make sure that you are crouching so you don't activate the note block. Add your redstone dust, repeater on 2 ticks, and 2 more redstone dust. And that is it. Your flying machine will travel back and forth until you manually stop it. Alright, you basically have a fully functioning farm, but we don't have a way to turn it off. We do want to place a lever outside of your farm so you can turn it off, because if you are teleporting away from your base and the flying machine is in the middle of your farm or even at the end of your farm, it's very possible and highly probable that the flying machine will break. So you do want to turn your farm off whenever you're teleporting away. The easiest way to do it is to pick a side. You can choose either side, it doesn't matter, they're both identical. You are going to connect the 2 obsidian backstops with top slabs. You could use full blocks. I find top slabs to be a little bit more reliable when the kelp is being pushed out. And then you're going to connect the 2 sides together. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to look at the direction that your repeater is facing. So it's going to be on the side that has 1 obsidian block. And we're going to do top slabs all the way until you are 1 block shy of the end. You are then going to place a solid block on the end like that. You're going to put a redstone torch. I should have had that already. You're going to place a redstone torch on top of the block, and then you're going to place a lever on the inside of your farm, or it could be on the outside of your farm. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be on this block. And then you're going to connect your redstone torch to your redstone line. You'll notice that because we triggered a block update, the flying machines did travel to the other side, and we'll give them a moment to return back. All right, as they are returning back, you will notice that the redstone is currently powered. Because the redstone is powered, the note block is already powered. So when the flying machine returns, there is nothing to trigger the update for our observer. And that is how you would turn your farm off. To turn it back on, simply flip it down. That will change the note block. And this will run back and forth indefinitely until you stop it again. All right, now that we have our flying machine and our farm fully functional, we've got to do something with this kelp. We can't just sit around and let it despawn, and we don't want to run around and collecting it. So what we're going to do, on these 5 blocks, this is going to be our main exit. Because of how wide the farm is, and we need every bit of it covered in water, we are going to have a 2-layer water stream. So you are going to go to the back of your 5 blocks that we added earlier, and you're going to extend this out 1 block. So this is technically a temporary block, but you can leave it. We're going to do this on both sides until we have a little trough right here. We are going to extend this all the way until we are below our corner, and you can add a block there. You'll do the same thing on the opposite side. And then we are going to create a wall in front of our 5 blocks. So add a wall here and add a wall here. Oh, don't do that. And we need to extend the front wall. So go ahead and place a block right there. Or if you prefer, you can start on this side, leaving that gap. It's up to you. whether you want that there or not. And we are going to just carry this all the way across until we have a nice little contained area that all of our kelp is going to fall in. Grab yourself a water bucket. Place 1 bucket of water on the furthermost block under your wall. It is going to flow into the middle. Do the same thing on the opposite side, and all of your kelp will funnel out the middle block onto your ice. I'm going to go ahead and just cap this off for now so we don't have water spilling everywhere. Whenever you have a bubble column or however you want to move your items, you can go ahead and place a fence gate and open it, and the items will pass perfectly through. You can actually build your entire bubble column. Nope, yeah, you can. You can build your entire bubble column right here with soul sand. All right, we are back at the other side, and actually it looks like we did 7 blocks on this side, and it's fine. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to build out our 5 blocks that we did on the other side. We are going to extend this forward all the way under our corner block. We're going to do this on both sides. And once again, we are going to create a wall in front, just like that. And then we're going to carry this out in front of our water stream. Again, you're going to have 5 lower blocks in the middle. You're going to have blocks on the upper end on both sides. And then you're going to have a block of ice as your exit. So go ahead and grab your water buckets, place them in, and just confirm that your water is flowing out the middle, and it is. We'll go ahead and add a fence gate and pretty it up with a couple blocks on the outside. And our exit is complete. All right, your farm is fully functional. There is one thing that I would add. If you're just building the bottom layer, you still need to do this. But this also prepares for layer 2. Go ahead and add a block on the corners above your wall and extend your wall up by 1 block. Do this on both sides of your farm. So Colin, if you could go ahead and do that side over there. Because we are hitting the kelp with slime blocks, the slime can have enough momentum to hop over a single wall. So we do want to raise that up 2 blocks. And by having a 2-block high wall, that will contain all the kelp and keep it from flying out of your farm. All right, that is your first layer complete. The second layer is identical in every way to the first layer. The only difference is it's above a lower layer, which means we don't have to build out our exit again. So what we can do is start by building up 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hop down. And if you wanted to do this part now, you could, adding, there's going to be a 2-block gap, adding walls, just to kind of get an idea of where you are building. Just like that. That is going to be layer 2. Everything, again, is identical. So if you look at the configuration of the farm, the first retaining wall, or the blocks that create the retaining wall, is even with the bottom mossy cobblestone wall. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. All right, and I actually just noticed that I did mess up a little bit right here. This will work if you're on your first farm, but if you are building out a second layer, you actually need to move this up 1 block. So if you're just building 1 layer, you can leave it, but I'm going to go ahead and break this redstone torch. That is going to send my flying machine to the wild yonder. Add a solid block above it, and also move your lever up 1. We're going to put our redstone torch on top of there, and we're going to leave it like that for now. But that is going to be important later when we build out our second layer. All right, back to that second layer. Once you have made it all the way to the end, again, it is an exact copy. So when you get to the end of this layer, we are going to stop on the second layer. We are going to add our 4 blocks just like before. So add that starting here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we can go ahead and connect this side as well. All right, on Colin's side, again, you are following the bottom layer exactly. So build this out 3 blocks, go across 2, and go all the way back until we get to our wall. I'll go ahead and build this up 4 high for him. There we go. And just like on the first one, we're going to connect the 2 sides together. Just like that. All right, now the next step is going to be adding the platform. Now the easiest way to do this is to actually place your block directly on top of your redstone. So grab your building block. Again, ours is smooth stone. We're going to place it on top of the redstone, and you're just going to build it all the way across like that. And you're going to finish this up. And then you're going to do it on the side closer to the wall. Once you have your first 2 rows of solid blocks, we are going to add our center block as a reference point, and we are going to add obsidian. And we are going to do this on both sides. So again, grab your solid block, add it on top of the redstone. Add your second block. Add your center block and your obsidian. All right, now that you have your exit platform on both sides, your obsidian with your block in the middle, the easiest way to do the part of the wall that has the water on top of it is to start on the obsidian with the side with the 3 blocks. So just place a block next to the obsidian and walk it back all the way across. So Colin, if you want to go ahead and do that right here. You're also going to want to connect the 2 middle blocks just like before. So I'll go ahead and do that. And our third and final line, same thing, block right next to the obsidian and walk it all the way back. All right, your second layer should look like this. You should have your retaining wall in place. You should have your wall, let me add that just to make it even. You should have your wall, and you should have your center blocks. The next thing we need to build is the kelp bed. The way we're going to do it is we are going to place 1 block underneath the center row of blocks next to our obsidian, and we're just going to start building out from there. Now your kelp bed is going to touch your flying machine. So if you have built this correctly, you should have your flying machine in the water with your observer and note block above it, and your next kelp bed directly touching it. So go ahead, just like the first build or the first farm, we're just going to build an entire platform. All right, that was an incredible amount of blocks, but we have finally finished our kelp bed. We are going to go ahead and add our water. Another thing that you could do before adding all the water and having to worry about it, you can go ahead and add your obsidian backstop now. Again, you're going to have 2 blocks from your kelp bed, obsidian, count over 4, and then you will need to, I tried to look for my pickaxe, you will need to break that temporary block. So you can do that now if you would like. Just like that.
That's wrong.
Thank you. All right. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Count out 2 blocks, obsidian, and build it all the way across. All right, let's go ahead and waterlog it. Same thing as before. We always start in the middle. I guess you could start on the outside. It doesn't really matter. But place a water bucket or ice if you wanted to do ice. And skip every other block. Once you have a source block of water along the ledge, we're going to turn to the obsidian. And we are going to do the same thing on the obsidian. And when you place the last bucket of water in the corner, the entire thing should turn into an infinite water source. And that is always very satisfying to watch. Next thing we're going to do is add our water along our middle blocks. We are going to add it along our outer blocks. And then we are going to add it on the, again, the middle block, the block behind our obsidian. We're going to do the same thing there. And you'll see that it will race over to the other side, making an infinite water source on the second layer. And just like the first layer, even though there is flowing water here, we do want the water source to be behind the obsidian so that when the flying machine comes, it is able to recreate the infinite water source so this doesn't dry up. So just make sure you have water underneath the obsidian backstop and behind the obsidian blocks. All right, we are going to plant some kelp and then we will be right back with you. All right, we have finished our kelp bed. Well, Colin has. And that, again, is the most tedious part of this whole build, apart from maybe the kelp bed itself with the blocks. We are going to go ahead and build our flying machine. So let me grab some blocks real quick. All right, the same thing as the first layer. We are going to find the side with the 3 blocks. We want to build 1, 2, 3, 4 slime blocks opposite of the 3. And we're going to do the same thing on the other farm. Again, if you built it on this side, whoops, there's kelp there. If you built it on this side, it would attach to this solid block and your flying machine will break. So that is why we have to build it over here. Place down a sticky piston. Place slime blocks in front of the sticky piston. And that kelp grew again. Let's break it. We need a sticky piston in this empty space, so we're going to go behind. Grab your sticky piston and place it facing in. Grab your observer. Place one observer with the redstone output over top of the sticky piston. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Place a note block on the observer closest to you, away from our obsidian wall. And then to send our flying machine across and get all that kelp that has already grown, my goodness, we're going to place down the final note block. Alright, it is time to make the return system. So let's go ahead and crouch, place our observer into the note block, place our redstone dust. Apparently I have deleted it out of my inventory. And the repeater, my goodness, I'm not prepared. On a 2-tick, redstone dust, and send it flying to the other side. Alright, let's build our return system once again. Observer, redstone dust, repeater on 2 ticks, and 2 pieces of redstone dust. Alright. Now, it was an accident, but we actually built this on top of our shut-off system. So we are going to go ahead and extend that shut-off system, and I'll show you why we wanted that redstone torch elevated up one more block. We are going to go ahead and place a redstone torch on top of the wall. We are going to place a solid block on top of that. And then we are going to connect the obsidian the same way we did on the first layer. So top slabs in between our obsidian. And then top slabs all the way to our solid block. Take your redstone dust and connect it. That is going to send your flying machine off if the bottom one was currently locked. And to test it, we will just sit here and wait for it to come back. Because it is lit, we know that it's going to work, but we'll just double check. Alright, our shutoff is working. Whenever you want to turn the farm on, you just flip the lever one time, and it will send all of your flying machines. Now, because there is a 2-tick delay, and another 2-tick delay, the machines are going to be offset by 2 ticks, which is what we want. If kelp gets stuck on top of the retaining wall, whenever the flying machine goes by, let me go ahead and grab some and we can just demonstrate. If ever kelp gets stuck in the middle, there will be enough of a water current to pull it in, and it will be kicked out on the next pass. So you do want to make sure that your flying machines are off-centered, and if you set up the turn on or the shut off the same way we have it, it will automatically do that. Alright, now just like on the first layer, the last and final step, just as a precaution, is to add the second wall to make sure all that kelp falls down where we want it. It doesn't fly over it. Colin, if you could go ahead and grab that side. Now, before we build layer 3, I am going to show you real quickly on our example the blocks that turn the farm on and off. It is going to be staggered, one block, and it is going to be just a basic redstone torch tower. So whenever you are adding additional layers, you would just alternate block, redstone torch, block, redstone torch. So building up the third layer, all you do is place down a redstone torch and a block, and that is actually going to prepare you for layer 3. And then you do the same thing for layer 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however high you build it. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and build out layer 3. I'm going to go ahead and do it with visual cues instead of commentating throughout the whole thing. Some people have requested that. So this next bit, I'm going to build out the entire layer 3 by myself, and then we will add comments along the way. All right, that is all 4 layers. Now you can continue building this as high as you want it. Each layer is identical in every way, so if you watch us build the second, third, or fourth, you should know how to do it. One thing that I hadn't really noticed before, this switch is kind of high. You kind of have to get right underneath it. If you wanted to lower that down, you could add a redstone torch here and add a lever there, which just extends your redstone torch tower down 1. You could actually even extend it lower than that if that is something you wanted to do. It's entirely up to you, but as long as the redstone torches are alternating, you can put this switch pretty much wherever you want it. So I'm going to go ahead and lower it right there. So that looks pretty good to me. And if you build another module right next to it, you can connect these together the same way we connected our middle tower. So if you wanted to extend this even further, you can either build a module directly next to it, or you could share this center or make this outer column another center column. All right, that about wraps it up for this video. I went ahead and reached out to Jake Bassmaster. He does an excellent job at designing short videos that really showcase farms and shows how amazing they are. Instead of showing you this farm running, we went ahead and sent the designs over to Jake, and he's going to have a video on his channel, which we will go ahead and link to right here. Once again, and as always, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment and let us know. Also, comment and let us know if you plan on building this. We would love to hear about it. I am CD3 Daddy.
And I am C3DG Minecraft.
And if you need any help on your farm, we do have a Discord. The link will be in the description. You can open a ticket and let us know if you're having any problems with your farm. That's it for now.